It's 24 degrees Celsius here in Abuja. It's a rainy, cold and wet morning in the Federal Capital Territory. Nonetheless, your daily dose of sunshine is here. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Maupe Ogun-Yusuf. How is it in Lagos, Ayo?
Oh, well, it's something in the region of 26 degrees here in Lagos. And today, Maupe, is September 11. And, of course, we remember how almost 3,000 people died September 11 of 2001 in the United States of America, including 246 airline passengers on board those 4 aircrafts, as well as all, of course, the hijackers on board all of those facilities. Almost 3,000 people, Malwe. And today, as always, the United States of America is going to be having a memorial, the 24th memorial in the series. And while we are talking about this daily dose of sunshine on one side, some people are celebrating their birthdays, and there we still have those memorials of people marking how almost 3,000 people died in one city. Definitely something to give us serious concern. But while we're still talking about that, we're still also reeling from the impact of what has happened in Oworonshoki, or is happening in Oworonshoki here in Lagos, Nigeria. While the people are complaining, the government is holding a particular position and saying this is what happened and that is what happened, and the people had more than enough time to do what the government is asking them to do. But according to the GM of LAPSCA, it would seem like the people just wouldn't budge. Now that we are where we are, we even saw a story. Channels TV has the story of where some monarchs in the environment went with some community leaders to the government's office to have conversations with them. I'm just wondering, Malcolm, because at the end of the day, a good number of people have made sacrifices. Now, there's something that government hasn't spoken to, whether or not the villa estate that the people are alleging is the reason for all the demolition, whether it is a real thing or it is just another hoopla that is being brought up. I'm wondering how that is going to end, Malcolm.
Well, I think that it's good that the Lagos state government finally stopped burying its head under the sand and finally showed up to look at the issue which we have been addressing on the program, the issue of the demolition in Oworonshoki, which happened over the weekend and led to a protest during the week that caused a major gridlock on 3rd Mainland Bridge. We also had a guest here on the program from the community who came to talk to us about the developments within the community. He did admit that the matter has been ongoing for about 2 years, but he says that of all the leaders that they have spoken to, none seems to be aware of what is going on. That was what our respondent said on the program. However, listening to the Lagos state government yesterday, which called a press conference, speaking to journalists and telling them about the issue, they say that they have had several engagements and several eviction notices given to the people who were affected by demolition notices. However, it doesn't also speak to whether there were other engagements. So it's one thing for you to bring out circulars or bring out notices, but it's also another thing for you to have your doors open to have a conversation with the people, especially if they have grievances or if there are areas that are unclear. So I saw that there are gray areas, but the Lagos state government says that there is no going back on this. I think the question is, where is that room for dialogue? Because there are those who say that they have been unjustly affected by these demolitions. So where is the room for those people's grievances to be addressed? And of course, Ayo, that issue which you just raised about the villas, which the residents say it's a land-grabbing tactic by the state government to make sure that developers have, they are able to give the land to the developers whom they want to give them to. But lest we preempt what it is you get out of this conversation, here's what our cameras captured in the aftermath of what has happened in Oworonshoki and also the response of the Lagos state government.
An aerial view reveals the extent of a demolition enforcement in the Ujileru part of Oworonshoki in Koshofe local government area. Some of the affected residents, now homeless, are still milling around the debris of concrete and woods that once stood as home, wondering what lies ahead. Adirunke Adego has been taking shelter in a nearby uncompleted bungalow since she was displaced by the exercise.
I use my salary very well. I still have loans. I'm working with my local government, senior officer for that matter. See where I'm sleeping, see my things. I didn't even, oh God.
The 56-year-old civil servant is apparently traumatized after witnessing the demolition of her home.
I went to Ikorodu to sell my only property there, 10 million naira, which I use. I finished everything, POP, tiles everywhere.
Mrs. Adego's condition, pictures for challenges others are facing following the exercise.
I don't have anywhere to go. That is my husband's graveyard. He said when he's dead, I should bury him on his land. So I don't have anywhere to go. They came to 12 a.m. in the night with masks on their faces, with tear gas, with full force of police. They don't even allow many of us to take anything out.
I have the video evidences of all of the buildings here. There is no substandard building here. I am jobless, homeless, everything less, and helpless at the same time.
Besides Ujileru, other parts of Oworonshoki are also affected. Video evidence reveals some houses are untouched amid the demolition along the shoreline of the lagoon. Public reactions to the latest demolition exercise has pitched the Lagos state government on the defense, justifying its action.
On one side, they don't have title to the land. On another side, they don't have approval. On another side, what they even built is threat to life because it's now a distressed building. So you have more than enough ground to remove them. In the first instance, it is illegal.
Supposing they go to court today and the court finds out that what the government has done is wrong, that the allegation of they not having document is not true, how do you remedy this level of damage that has been done?
All of this shouting is not just about compensation. It's about rebuilding our properties, our houses. We want our houses back as well as our land.
For now, the possibility of compensating or relocating the victims of the demolition appears not to be an option for both the Lagos state government and affected residents. But one question looms large. Can the Lagos state government balance environmental protection with the human rights to shelter?
So there you have it. But this morning, we're now being joined by Mr. Laolu Akande, who is the former presidential aide and also the host of Channels Television's Inside Sources. Mr. Akande, it's good to see you this morning.
Good morning.
Well, this is the matter that we're looking at this morning. It's the first one amongst many others that we intend to discuss. Initially, when we started this week, the issue of a strike by Lupeng was hanging over our heads, and a lot of us were having palpitations. But clearly, other people also have other concerns. I mean, when you look at what has happened to the people of Oworonshoki, for instance, you know, Lupeng strike will be the least of their worries. Absolutely. It's going to be about where they're going to lay their heads, especially for those who have spent money trying to put up some shelter for them to at least stay away from the elements. So I do not know what your thoughts are with regards to how it is that governments generally go about urban planning, town planning, and making sure that, you know, housing for everyone is something that is a priority.
Yeah. So I listened to the Lagos state government official trying to lay out, you know, the regulations and how it is that many of those buildings are improper. And you know, you can't, I mean, we must assume that, you know, since this is the position of the Lagos state government, they know what they're saying in terms of whether there are approvals or not with legal issues. You got to concede that they know what they're talking about. What I think, two things. the first thing is that, look, there has to be a middle ground in this matter. And then the second point is that, where was the government, when all these developments were coming up and they were thriving and people settled there and people made a way of life and people, where was, is there, and I'm asking because I've not really delved into this, is there a bit of negligence on the part of government that allows this kind of stuff? And this kind of pattern is normal. You have a place people are not taken care of and they have to sort themselves out. So they get to a place and they start to live there and they build houses there improperly, and then government wakes up in the middle of some point and say that, no, that's not proper, and we want to make a better use of that. What is the responsibility of government in that kind of situation? Why did we allow it? And then how come we don't have a comprehensive plan to take care of our people? Finally, now that you have demolished their houses, where are you sending them to? So government must find a middle of the road approach. It's a responsibility of government. It is ultimately the responsibility of government to
clearly, when we see this demolitions most times, not the ones done by developers, maybe. Right. I'm talking about when you see people who clearly are vulnerable. When their homes are demolished, they have nowhere else to go. Yeah. It is. Sometimes you have to ask if government does have a responsibility to them. That question always pops up on my mind. Yeah, sometimes government will say, where were they before? Maybe they should go back to where they're coming from.
You see, two things must be at the heart of governance: justice and mercy, compassion. So, yes, government can say that, no, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. But considering the fact that these are nearly vulnerable people, these are not, for the most part, these are people that are at the lower, end of the rung, or the ladder. These are people that need help. So, yes, government has permitted them to be there for a long time, which I think it borders on negligence on the part of government. But now, government must not just tell us that, look, we have to bring these things, places down without telling us how they will be taken care of. And I hope that is what the traditional rulers are trying to engage with the government officials. We must find a middle-of-the-road approach that borders on compassion and social justice. Now, those two things must be at the heart of how this matter is resolved. And we have to call out the governor of Lagos State, who people say clearly, has a connection with the people. I mean, you see him go out, into the train, talk to the people, try to find out how good they are doing. You must, Governor Sanwo-Olu, find a middle-of-the-road approach in this matter. We can't resolve this matter by government banging the table and say that you guys have broken the law. You guys have done what you've got to do. You've just demolished the stuff. But what is going to happen to these guys? Government has an obligation, a moral obligation, a social contract obligation to resolve the problem and settle them in a way that they can find acceptable. And that's where this should end.
Well, let's take a look at other matters now that have also come up. I mean, I don't know how you felt with that Nupeng strike. Well, I think I actually did start a strike. Thankfully, we did not feel the effects before it was called off. But the matter that was at hand as to whether or not, workers of a particular company could unionize, of the Dangote refinery could unionize. Initially, it was looking like there was a deadlock, but eventually, the DSS, did you have a problem with that? The DSS helping to reach an agreement at the end of the day?
Well, I mean, as long as the outcome is good, I have no problem, and the DG of the DSS seems to be somebody that, quite a very, proactive, thinking kind of guy. So if they solve the problem, hey, we are happy. If DSS turns around to be the one solving problems, we cheer for it, But what I think happened in this case is that on the side of Dangote, you are dealing with people who are afraid of monopoly. On the side of the the NUPENG, you are dealing with a unionism that requires a little bit more of democratic, considerations. You can't force people to belong to a union, while on the other hand, they have a right to belong to a union. So we need to free up the space, not only to ensure that Mr. Dangote, no, we're not going to let you be a monopolist, but at the same time, the worker space has to be freed up. You can't compel people to be in your union, and the people who want to be in the union should have a right to choose the union that they want to belong to.
Yeah, but in this instance, what we understand was that the terms and conditions of service with the refinery was that you cannot be a part of a union.
Well, so that's against the laws. That's against the labor laws. You can't have a factory as big as Dangote refinery and say that people cannot be part of a union. It's too big. You can't do that. You can't do that. That's So it's one of the things that Mr. Dangote himself will have to understand that it's not even good for his own reputation to try to preclude and constrain the rights of people working in his factory. He can't do that.
Well, eventually that was resolved, and thankfully we have products in the stations, because that's where it concerns you and I, and that could actually degenerate into something that could be a security threat. Perhaps that's why we saw the intervention of the DSS. We've said the DSS DG was proactive, but hey, some people say, do you think a little arm twisting was involved?
Well, there are proper situations where you should do arm twisting if it's going to be in the hand, on the side of the people. Yes, that's part of where government have force. The problem that we have for the most part is that when you do this arm twisting, it's for the benefit of the elite class. They are taking care of themselves. Yes, if you have to do a little bit of arm twisting for the people, then it's not entirely...
it's not out of place.
Yeah.
Western doctor strike. We're currently in Abuja here. FCT resident doctors have been complaining for a while.
Yeah.
And this week, they decided to down tools. They told Nigerians and everyone who cares to listen that they're going to down tools for 7 days straight.
As a warning.
As a warning. It could become indefinite. And our correspondents, went out to town to, see the state of things at some of government hospitals. And it was really heartbreaking to just look at the faces of people who had gone there. Those hospitals were crowded. On Monday, when that strike started, a lot of people had no inkling what was going to happen. So they had gone to the hospital hoping to get treatment. Yeah. And lo and behold, they were told that a strike action had started. And it was just, you could see the disappointment on their faces, the fact that they had to go home without getting treatment. Now, on the one hand, some will say, we can't blame the doctors. They are at their wits' end, it would seem, because, I mean, when you speak with them, they had loads of letters that they could present to journalists to say, look, we've been writing. Right. It doesn't seem like anyone is listening. At the other side, we haven't quite heard much. I don't know whether you have heard. I haven't heard much from the government in the FCT as to how they intend to resolve the agitations of this resident medical personnel. And we are understanding that it could expand. We're hearing NARD could,
national.
It could be a national strike. So while we're hearing that some state governments are being proactive with, looking at welfare, it doesn't appear that this is percolating all around.
Yeah, the problem, Markwe, is that, for me, one of the things that defines a progressive society, is how human capital development issues are managed. And I'm not happy to say that we have continuously failed and failed and failed and failed for the most part. I know that, we do have reform-minded people at the federal level trying to sort this matter, both in education and in health. But it's such a very tough struggle. Because normally you will wonder that we're not supposed to even have strikes in the hospitals. It's supposed to be an essential service. Okay? But like you said, these doctors are given such a long notice. And you still have a system where, and I've spoken to this before, we have a broken system in the civil service, in the public service. It's a broken system where communication is the last thing that people care about. Otherwise, why will you have the doctors are telling us that for months they have not been communicated with? They don't have any kind of feedback. Why do you have a Ministry of Labor at the federal level and you can't have, even if it's a weekly communication? I remember that when we were in the villa, you know, when Professor Oshibajo was acting president, you know, and we are dealing with some of the issues with the strike, what he did was to say that you must have a desk officer who will be communicating regularly with the workers who had an issue there. Regularly. There must be somebody that says that, okay, we have received this, your letter, you know, we are going to set up a meeting at this time, this is the feedback, this is what we are struggling with, we don't have the money now. Somebody must be talking, even when you don't have that round table, you know. But something as simple as this, Mark, where you will find out that it's not happening, which is the reason why these doctors are saying that, look, we have done our best. I want to appeal to them that, look, matters of health are too sensitive. You know, anybody can get sick anytime. And how do you convince the person that needs the services in the hospital and is not going to get it because of a strike? It can even make somebody run crazy. That what kind of a system is this? So we must call on the government, and this is the conclusion of the matter, that this is urgent. The way we manage our health, the way we manage our education, the way we manage human capital development issues, that is what speaks about what has happened to us as a people. And we keep struggling. And these strikes are the reflection of the fact that we are struggling. We have a lot of big, I mean, look at what is happening in FCT. Everybody is impressed that, you know, all these roads they are fixing happening in FCT. Everybody is impressed that, you know, all these roads they are fixing it, they are turning the things around. Infrastructure, that's good. But that doesn't speak to our soul. It is what happens in our hospitals, what happens in our schools. That is what tells the kind of human beings that we have become.
Well, I know that I certainly will have more follow-ups on that, and we'll also want to take you up on other issues. So it's over to you now, Ayo.
Well, thank you, Mokwe. I actually would love to follow up on that, you know, because when you raise the issue of communication, Mr. Akande, first thing that comes to my mind is, do we have a system of communication? Because what I know is Ministry of Information, 37 of them, at the federal level and at the state level. We don't have a Ministry of Communication. The one that we have that is called Ministry of Communication is communication with an S, and that speaks more to technology than it speaks to what you are talking about. So if we don't have a system of communicating with the people, then perhaps that's where the problem is.
I mean, certainly higher, you know, and we have talked about this, you know, quite a number of times, that even the idea of information is I mean, you give information and then you walk away. Communication is lecture. We haven't fixed it. So that is the legitimate problem. But I'm not even talking about internal communication in government, in the public service. It's still a struggle. That is why, you know, you have situations where, you know, at times it's the doctors or other kinds of workers, and they're saying that, look, they have given government a month, they have given government 2 months, and there's no response. So that tells you that even in terms of internal communication, it is still such a big ordeal, and it ought not to be. It ought not to be. All that has to be done is to identify and give people responsibility to be in constant. That is why we have the Ministry of Labor. It's an entire ministry at the federal level. It's an entire, that's what they do. It's labor disputes. It's to take care of stuff like this.
Labor is just one.
The fact that you are having people working, doctors in this case, saying that, look, nobody communicated with us. We shouldn't be having that kind of a situation. We should be having a situation where they're saying that, okay, they spoke with us and we don't agree with what they said. Okay, we know that at least there's a conversation going on. There's an ongoing interaction. But right now, from what we get from the doctors, there doesn't seem to be an ongoing interaction. It seems that there is an interaction when they raise the level of the temperature. They say they were going to strike. Then everybody says, oh, okay, what's going on here? And then it comes down again, and then everybody goes to sleep. And then the doctors wake up about 1 month and say that this thing has not moved. No, we shouldn't have that kind of a situation. We should have an ongoing interactive model where the people in the Ministry of Labor are constantly, regularly, weekly trying to cross the T's and dot the I's. That is the reason why we have a Ministry of Labor. And so we need to call, and we have 2 ministers in that ministry. They need to rise up and make sure that while they are there as ministers, they can take care of this basic interaction. You'll be surprised, Ayo, that kind of ongoing interaction, if it is made efficient, it will solve a lot. It may not solve the entire problem, but the fact that the people have been listening here and be very happy.
Mr. Akande, perhaps one should just rest it on the fact that, and which is, speaks to what you said earlier about the acting president at the time, Vice President Osinbajo, saying that activity needs to be kick-started. But it's not just in the Ministry of Labor. It's practically every ministry. There is a power outage. No one is talking to you. You have to literally be, what's the word now? Scavenging for information. To even know what is happening in the first place. If no one is talking, of course, people reserve the right to think the way they like. Another issue that, borders on interest is the NNPCL. You're not unaware that the EFCC, I like the way one media house puts it, that the former GMD of NNPCL has honored the invitation of the EFCC. Of course, others put it more gruesomely. But so there's that conversation around the $7.2 billion refinery fund. Now, we have heard all kinds of things about that, the refineries over time. And then this current GMD is also talking about the refineries, wondering whether or not they're ever going to take off, and then what we had, and then what we have now, and all of that. So is this going anywhere, or is it just one of those talk shops?
Well, okay, so there are 2 things that you've raised. You've raised Mr. Mele Kyari's preparedness to honor the invitation of EFCC, and then the issue of the refineries. So let's take the issue of the refineries first. I think we failed as a nation after the Obasanjo administration said that, look, we're going to sell off this thing. And actually the process of sale was on. And then the Yar'Adua government came in and reversed it. So that is one major societal failure that we are still dealing with. But I think the second thing, which is a good thing, is that I think Ojulari seems to have come to the point that, okay, look, if we don't want to sell this stuff, we need to bring the people that run refineries, the experts, to come and do some kind of partnership with us, so that these things just don't become scraps that we are still spending money on. So I think that we should give Ojulari the benefit of the doubt and let us see what he can make happen in that way. It seems to be a fresh thinking, So let's see how that goes. Now, back to the issue of Mr. Mele Kyari and the and the investigations. I think that this must go beyond just the EFCC. I am of the opinion that Mr. President has to take a keener interest in resolving what has become a culture of corruption, deep-seated corruption in the oil and gas sector, particularly in the NNPC. Yeah, and I know that the EFCC chairman has come out and said that if we see what is going on, that it is mind-boggling. I think we need a presidential level special probe. Yes, working with the EFCC and the other anti-corruption agencies, but the problem in NNPC is not the kind of problem that you manage the way that we are managing it. It just shows that we are not ready. You know, so Mr. Olukayede will tell us that, there is a serious problem here. How do we solve it? It's just an alarm. There must be a systematic approach that requires presidential initiative. It's such a big deal. The amount of money that we are talking about is humongous. So I haven't seen any kind of concerted effort to solve the problem of corruption in NNPC. We are doing window dressing so far. And for as long as we continue to do the window dressing, well, we're just going to be going on in the same vicious cycle. And God will help us so that we can get a break. This is what I think.
Well, our national pledge ends with "So help me God." So let's just hope that that comes to play at some point. You know, maybe also in "So help me God" is what some parents are talking about when they say that the JAMB age limit policy is unconstitutional and should be suspended. Of course, you know, at the point when the JAMB and the Minister of Education proposed that if you are writing JAMB, your cutoff mark should be, the least should be 320. And the parents are saying that that's arbitrary, unfair, and a breach of children's rights to education. I'm a little confused because what do you make of that, first of all?
Well, my view is that when we're talking about education in a world that is driven more by the knowledge economy, we are not supposed to be playing around merit. We have to re-establish the prominence of merit when it comes to education. We cannot play around the issue of merit. This is, the world has become a place that is driven entirely by knowledge, technology, innovation. For me, there is no space for all kinds of our quota games and look, except we don't want to match up with what is happening globally. So I support the Minister of Education in his effort to re-establish the place of merit in our education. And the second thing that has happened to us that we have seen in education is that we have a situation where parents, let's even forget about the people that do the CBT centers, you know, the computer-based centers, you know, who are also involved in all kind of shady deals, which should be dealt with. But the one that breaks my heart is when you have parents actively getting engaged, involved in how their wards can cheat in exams. The active collusion of parents in examination malpractice, that is a national emergency. It requires us to talk to ourselves as a people, that how did we find ourselves, how did we get here? Because again, look at what is happening globally, and we are playing games with education. It shows that we don't even understand what is happening in the world. So we must support the reforms that is going on in education, trying to bring back the seriousness of merit. We must support that if at all we want to be part of the game at the global stage.
You know, that issue you raised about a national conversation as to how did we get here. I listened to Mr. J.K. Pele, talk about how examination malpractice is now becoming normal. Is the norm now. In fact, you might look like the exception if you're not involved. If you're not involved, it is really, really mind-boggling. And I think that I don't know who will be saddled with that responsibility of hosting such a conversation to say, are we serious as a people? Well, is this the sort of future we really want to bequeath to our children? Absolutely.
Well, that's the job of the National Orientation Agency. I must say that Mr. Lanre Zaolilo has been quite innovative. But that is something that he has to be thinking about. We need to be talking to ourselves. When you have parents, arranging how their words can cheat, how somebody else, two people can go in on the same identity, sit in there and exam all. One is the fraudulent one, that is doing the exam. The real person is just sitting down there. And then you have this school and parents. Where? Well, so help us God. Amen. Well, Mr. Laulu Akande, we have to thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the program this morning. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Mr. Laulu Akande is a former presidential aide and also the producer and presenter of Channel Television's Inside Sources. Thank you once more. Well, right now we are going to northwest Nigeria now, particularly, as I did say, Kano State, where we're looking at a number of developing issues in the state. There has been an allegation that 6.5 billion naira has been diverted. This allegation was made by at least a coalition of 20 CSOs, civil society organizations, on Monday, alleging that one of the aides of the governor diverted this monies through some companies and also through bureau de change. Now, the state government has responded to these allegations, saying that the aide was not out of order and that he was acting on certain orders. But then it raises a number of other issues as to how it is that funds move around the state in such a way that, CSOs now have to raise their eyebrows. Well, we're being joined this morning by the Special Advisor on Digital Economy to the Kano State Government, Mr. Yusuf Sharada. Mr. Sharada, thank you so much for joining us on Sunrise Daily this morning. I think we can start with an issue that directly affects your own, your own mandate as a Special Advisor on Digital Economy to the Kano State Government, which is this issue of phone theft. Because I imagine that for a number of people to participate in the digital economy, they have to have their phones, their mobile devices. So I don't know, this is something we have heard is on the increase in Kano State. Has it been a source of concern to you as well as the state government?
Hello, thank you for having me. And of course it is a source of concern for the state government because the government is trying its best to revitalize the state, to bring back the state back on the track of developmental issues. Do not forget that we had 8 years misrule by Ganduja's FEC administration, and then the state government is doing everything humanly possible to see that Kano reclaim its glory, being the center of commerce and also center of politics, and the leader of northwestern state and even the northern state. So that is a source of concern, and there were so many measures put in place, there were so many giant strides that the present administration, under the watch of His Excellency Alhaji Abba Kabir Yusuf, we have gone far in tackling these issues. There are a number of initiatives to curb that menace, and we are recording progress in that area.
Can you share with us some of the initiatives that have been implemented?
One of them is establishing a neighborhood watch. These are special guards that were trained, about 2,000 of them, and they were equipped with modern gadgets that will be used to curb that menace. Even before that, there was another set of group, anti-phone snatching, which were equipped and given vehicles and lights weapons to address that menace. This is apart from supporting the police in the state and other security formations. And even there was a standing committee or a task force committee that specifically deal with the thuggery, with the pawn snatching and what have you in the state. And as I said earlier, we are recording successes in that regard.
Well, let me quickly, I had thought that you would be speaking to something that was perhaps going to discourage the phone snatchers. Maybe something digital, I don't know, a digital solution, for instance, that makes it less attractive for phone snatchers to want to take other people's phones. Because if they steal the phones and the phones are made useless to them, for instance, there will be no incentive to want to steal phones. So are you also looking in that direction?
We are looking also in that direction. We have tracking devices that we support the security formations in Kano to help and track the phones of people that were snatched. And we have that understanding with even the GSM dealers in the state not to be buying second-hand phones from suspected individuals. If you want to sell out your used phone, you have to come along with the pack and with the receipt, the initial receipt that you purchased that one. So we have that understanding. And even as a regard of the tracking that you talk about, there are so many initiatives like the Smart City we are working seriously on so that it will help us in reducing that issue of pawn snatching. And more importantly, it is equally important to state the effort of His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kano State, in lightening the street of Kano. Most of the places where before they are hideout of criminals that they used to attack people, snatch away their bags or their phones, are now being lightened up, so even the miscreants are not finding it comfortable to even stay there. So this is another effort. The Kano Metro is almost lightened up. Nowadays, that's where there is serious direction in that menace of pawn snatching.
Yeah, so talk to us about this scandal, which seems to be brewing in Kano State. This scandal of 6.5 billion naira allegedly diverted by the Director General of the Protocol Directorate, Kano State Government House, Abdullahi Rogo, who is accused of having diverted 6.5 billion naira through companies and bureau de change. The state government has responded somewhat, but what gave rise to this allegation in the first instance?
Well, it is all politically motivated. You see, as I said earlier, we succeeded administration that almost ruined Kano State. And now they were surprised. They are still in the pain of losing election, but they have discovered within a short duration of time, 2 years precisely into the administration of Alhaji Abba Kabir Yusuf, they have seen now Kano is back to the track of glory. Schools are functioning, the educational sector, the health sector, the agricultural sector, and there are so many empowerment and there are so many development. Our foreign scholarship program have continued and many other things. So they were surprised. They found it very intimidating. They are sure that they lose the grasp of Kano State. That's why they connived with those so-called CSOs and started coming up with these ungrounded allegations. Though that matter is before the competent judge of court of jurisdiction, so we shouldn't be discussing it here. But let me tell you that it is only politically motivated to distract the present administration from the developmental project and dividend of democracy that it is pouring to the people of Kano State.
Well, I know that Ayo will certainly have follow-up questions on that. Ayo, over to you.
Thank you, Markwe. Just to be clear, you're saying that the phone theft challenge that Kano State government is dealing with now is politically motivated. Is that what you're saying? Mr. Sharada, can you hear me? Oh dear. Oh, I just need to be clear on that because it's sometimes a little surprising when, you know, issues of governance come up and people are being affected directly, rightly or wrongly, and these issues are enmeshed in politics. So one just wonders whether or not there is a focus on government or an attempt by whoever to distract the people from the real issues in the state. Because, for instance, this issue, this phone theft issue, dates back many months, and it'll be good to know whether or not the state government has its hands on it. Well, Mr. Sharada, can you hear me? Well, we're still waiting. I'm hoping that he'll be able to... Okay. Can you hear me, Mr. Sharada?
Yes, I'm with you, Mr. Ayo.
Wonderful, thank you. So when you say that, you know, these things are politically motivated, what exactly is politically motivated? Are you saying that the phone theft ring is politically motivated in Kano State?
No, I gave that answer in relation to the allegation of diversion some money by one of the head, specifically the director of protocol of the governor of Kano State. But the phone theft and phone snatching, that one is a social vice, is a menace that since when we come aboard, we have been fighting drastically, and we are doing everything humanly possible to see that we bring an end to that by ensuring a very secured Kano State for every person residing in the state. So that one is not what I mean when I say it is politically motivated. Okay. I am referring to the allegation of diversion of some money from Kano State coffers.
But isn't that, the phone theft ring, also a symptom, or isn't it symptomatic of socially challenged populace? As far back as January, we understand that the police has been on this case. But we'll talk about the social challenges in a moment. But if you can give us an idea, how many people can you say have been arrested as a result of this, whole phone theft ring? How many people do you think have been arrested? What disciplinary measures have been taken to ensure that at least there's some form of deterrence, from the state government?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, there were so many initiatives targeted toward that. One, the state government has been working
before you go there,
very closely
just a second, Mr.
with
Sharada.
the state.
How many people have been arrested, if you can give us a number?
More than 200 people have been arrested with the issue of phone theft.
Okay.
And some of them were...
Just a second. How far back does this problem go, from what you know?
Well, it become a source of concern because so many people even lost their lives, not even talk of their properties as a result of that phone theft. So it is a serious one, and we didn't take it lightly. And we supported police, and even the Kano State governor come up with initiative for those young boys that get involved in these acts. If they repent, then they used to rehabilitate them and give them a seed capital to start other things and leave that phone theft.
Okay, so Mr. Sharada, isn't it symptomatic of a major problem? As I said earlier, there are reports that as far back as January of this year, arrests were made regarding this phone theft issue, and you say about 200 people have been arrested. Isn't it symptomatic of more serious social challenges that is driving the people into this situation?
Yeah, it is. You know, Kano being a cosmopolitan state, and due to the insecurity we suffered in the northeast and the insurgency and then the banditry in the core northwest, many people migrated to Kano, and these people are coming. Some of them don't even have where to stay. And most of them get involved in this act of phone theft and phone snatching. So it is a problem that we are looking at it holistically. And that's why I mentioned the establishment of Neighborhood Watch, the anti-phone snatching, and assisting the police and the other security formations, and even setting up a special task force committee on security, all to tackle these problems. And if you are following the trajectory, we are recording successes. The menace is being reduced, not as that very time you are referring to in your report.
Now, you are saying that you are the essay to the governor on digital economy. And yeah, this is definitely something that will give you serious concern, particularly if you have experience in that sector. It's a very, very vibrant sector. So is there a sustainable plan of harnessing the potential of the digital economy in Kano State to the point that it will forbid what is happening? We understand that there was a point where some digital infrastructure was supposed to be commissioned in Kano State, but were vandalized in the wake of, some protests that happened in recent time. Is there a development to that, particularly with the federal government? And what are you doing to harness the digital economy in Kano so this problem can be permanently abated?
Well, the present administration understands the importance of digitization, and Kano being the center of commerce, we have a lot of businessmen and traders. We understand the impact of digitizing our business processes. So my office is working with so many other government so that they can use it to propel or to assist us in achieving where.
Well, Mr. Yusuf Sharada, we have to thank you very much for coming on our program this morning. We had hoped that we'll be able to talk to you a bit about the politics in Kano State as well, because we understand that the APC has been trying to woo the NNPP into its fold, and it's unclear if the NNPP will be yielding or whether it will be holding its ground in Kano State as it has already done in the 2023 elections. You want to quickly speak to it, especially considering how you have blamed the opposition for what is happening with the allegations of the 6.5 billion naira corruption allegation?
Kano State belongs to the Kwankwaso family, and there is a reason for that. These people that you are talking about, either living in NNPP or grouping in APC, they were all in APC when we defeated them and take back the state to our fold. And what is happening under the present leadership, the lots of township roads that are happening, the revitalization of the health sector, the agri sector and the educational sector, and the continuation of the empowerment and many other dividends of democracy, Kano people have seen where to stay. Whoever is living in NNPP going to the ruling party, I think I pity that person, because Kwankwaso is the movement that is having Kano, and any party Kwankwaso movement is with is the one that will continue to rule Kano. We don't have time to talk more about this, but I hope sometime we can have ample time to tell you details why Kano people like Kwankwaso and the leader of the movement, Senator Kwankwaso, and why.
All right, Mr. Sharada, I certainly will take you up on that particular one. Thank you so much for speaking with us this morning. We've been speaking with Mr. Yusuf Sharada, who's a special advisor on digital economy to the Kano State Governor. Well, that's where we end the program this beautiful Is it Thursday already? Yes, it is Thursday already. But we ask you, if you're driving in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, please be careful out there. Some roads which you normally would use, some of them are getting flooded. So please be careful as you drive in the rain. Thank you for watching. I'm Maokbe Ogun Yusuf.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Business Morning is up on the hour. Have a wonderful rest of your day.